you to everybody for coming tonight. We're going to get started, but before we do, we'd like to ask to observe a moment of silence for 4 members of the Francis Howell community who recently passed away. James Lamar was lead custodian at Sager Middle School. Anita Wilding was a bus driver. Gail Perkins, special education paraprofessional at Henderson Elementary, and Dr. Danielle Brown, former superintendent and local historian. Let's take a moment of silence to honor them.
We'll talk to Ken about it later, but right now we're in
Thank you. I'd like to call this meeting in order with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Board, I'd like a motion to approve the agenda for July 20th, 2023 as presented. Second. Pushkar, Ponder. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say no. Motion carries. Next up, we have patron comments. During patron comments, residents of the district and staff members are invited to address the Board of Education on issues related to the school district. Speakers are called forward in the order of sign up, and each speaker has 3 minutes to make their remarks. Please remember the only one speaker is allowed at the podium at a time, and combining time or giving your time to someone else is not permitted. The board appreciates that you have taken the time to come this evening, and we value both your input and perspective. I would like to remind everyone that we expect the speakers will remain civil and respectful when giving remarks. If anyone fails to comply with board policies, regulations, and rules, we reserve the right to cut those 3 minutes short. For your convenience, our 3-minute clock is ready. And first up, we welcome Ron Pushkar.
Good evening, school board directors. Good evening, Dr. Rambas and staff. I'm a longtime meeting attendee at Francis Howell School Board meetings, and I'm pleased to see the new thinking that the school board has introduced since the last 2 elections. Thank you for following through on your campaign promises to the families, the taxpayers, and the teachers that supported you with a sweeping majority in the last 2 board elections. You promised to protect the children, provide fiscal stewardship, support teachers, and get back to the basics with our curriculum. Thank you for your fiscal oversight in initiating an audit of cost overruns of $86 million of taxpayer dollars to build the new Francis Howell North High School, causing a hold on other needed school structure projects promised in Proposition S funding. Taxpayer trust has been lost. The taxpayer needs to be shown that this new school board is exhibiting sound fiscal responsibility, especially because the district needs taxpayer support and approval of future bond funding. Thank you for reviewing current Francis Howell School policies for improvements and enforcement so that less inclusive behavioral resolutions without consequences can be eliminated. Our current resolution on racism states that we will openly talk, challenge, and confront racism. Well, time for talk is over. It's now time for action. It's time that the students and the parents know that the Francis Howell bullying policy is being enforced on behavioral issues inclusive of any and all discrimination. According to current policy, bullying against any student based on race, color, religion, sex, or national origin will not be tolerated. Specific consequences are stated and will be imposed on violators. Thus, positive behavior can be achieved for the safety and benefit of teachers, staff, and students. Thank you for your participation in community events such as the St. Charles County Library Board meeting last month. One board member expressed their disapproval and questioned why the director of the taxpayer-funded facility specifically employs a transgender person to supervise and interact with children in the children's library room. In June, there were many Pride Month public celebrations across the country. In several of the city's parades, the common chant of the transgender group was, "We're here, we're queer, and we're coming for your children." Articles written about the queer parades have noticed that the chant, "We're here, we're queer, and we're coming for your children," has been used for the past several years by the transgender community. Now we see it firsthand in St. Charles County Library. Thank you for your due diligence in prohibiting inappropriate sexual content and gender ideology in Francis Howell School curriculum, such as the recently reported sexual content in one of our summer health class textbooks. And thank you for your support, parents who believe that sexuality is the right of parents to teach at home, not in school, and to not allow sexual indoctrination in our schools. Thank you.
Up next, we have Jennifer Clark.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jennifer Clark, and as a parent of 3 Howell students, including one who just graduated, I'm here today to ask that you do not rescind the resolution on racism. Some of you campaigned on focusing more on the basics of education, such as reading, writing, math, and science. This resolution does not in any way take away from focusing on the basics of education. It is simply a commitment to ensuring that racism does not get in the way of any student's education. Let me share some alarming statistics about racial disparities in access to education. In our country, only 57% of Black students have access to necessary math and science courses for college readiness, compared to 81% of Asian students and 71% of white students. Even when Black students have access to honors or AP courses, they remain vastly underrepresented. Graduating Black students are less likely to be college ready, with 61% not meeting any of the 4 ACT college readiness benchmarks, nearly double the rate for all students. Discipline disparities also affect Black students, who are nearly 4 times more likely to receive out-of-school suspensions and 2.3 times more likely to be referred to law enforcement than their white peers. Moreover, there's a severe lack of Black teachers, with only 18% of public school teachers being teachers of color and only 2% being Black male teachers. Outside the classroom, Citigroup said the U.S. economy has lost $16 trillion in the last 20 years due to discrimination against Black Americans. Reversing discriminatory practices could lead to a $5 trillion boost over the next 5 years, they said. When we avoid conversations about race and racism, we silence unheard voices and tell students that their experiences don't matter. It's essential to acknowledge racial injustice in America's history with racism. I'd like to conclude by reading a statement from my 15-year-old daughter. I will be a sophomore at Francis Howell this fall. I believe that it is so contradictory and spineless that I was pulled out of class to participate in a focus group at the end of the school year to address issues with racism that had come up during the school year, just for you, the district board, to go back on this. Over the course of this school year, I had to experience events that were completely unprofessional and unacceptable that I wouldn't wish on any of my peers, most of whom will never have to experience what I did, as we don't share the same race. Yet you want to say that this resolution is somehow offensive. You know what is offensive? Having your hair touched and played with as if you're a pet by your teacher. Having to worry that while walking in the hallway there will be people behind you trying to touch your hair. Or having to witness your classmates act out slavery, pretending that they're being whipped by their master because it's funny. Removing this resolution because a handful of people couldn't handle wrongdoings being acknowledged does a complete disservice to the safety and integrity of our schools. That concludes my daughter's statement and mine.
Next, we have Michelle Walker.
I'm here to share the stories of others and hopes you will consider the human impact of your proposed board actions this evening. These are the stories of racism that have impacted Francis Howell families, too. Picture this: a sweet, innocent little 6-year-old first grader, the African-American neighbor who waves to you every time you drive by. He's always friendly and extra respectful. The neighborhood's all abuzz. The kids are excited because one of the new neighbors is getting a pool. They all show up ready to swim, but one little boy is not allowed to. This neighbor's mom came running out of the house screaming at this little boy he cannot swim in that pool because a dirty N-word is going to turn my water green. I'm blessed this did not happen to my child. However, it happened to my family member who lives within this school district. It doesn't matter where these things happen. It matters the human impact. I want you to consider the impact. I remember the tears of a beautiful biracial 7th grade girl when she was told to go back to Africa in the hallway of Hollenbeck Middle School. I want you to consider the impact. We all likely agree these things are just plain wrong. And in 2020, for the first time in the history of Francis Howell School District, we recognize that our Black, brown students, families, and staff have been impacted by racism and hateful people within our midst. The resolution on racism and discrimination was a huge step forward. It was less than a decade before that our school board president gained international attention as he screamed, "We don't want these people here." When I joined the school board in 2016, I wanted to do my part to ensure that the Francis Howell community was a welcoming community in which every individual felt dignified, respected, and welcome. The events surrounding the murder of George Floyd and the stories that were shared by our students, staff, and family immediately following were the reason for the resolution. It was in response. Their voices must not be silenced. Requiring the physical removal of a resolution against racism and discrimination through whatever sideways way you want to do it sends a very clear message to people that have already been marginalized and discriminated against within this community for far too long. You're saying you're done listening, and we just need to go away. What I want you to consider is the stories I've just told you are that of my own family members, and we're not going away. We will not be silenced. I was at a realtor conference, Lake of the Ozarks, the other day, and Lieutenant Governor Mike Kehoe made a surprise visit. One of the things he talked about was how we need Missouri to be a welcoming place so our children will want to stay here when they're graduated. Francis Howell has a less than welcoming reputation towards minorities, and that's why we struggle to get minority staff. When the next civil rights lawsuit is served to our district and your continued actions are under a microscope and it costs us all millions of dollars, consider the impact.
Thank you. Your time is up.
Up next, we have Heather Fleming.
My name is Heather Fleming, and I have been a resident of the Francis Howell School District since 2010. My oldest sons both graduated from this district, and my daughter is getting ready to go into her sophomore year. I also did my student teaching here at North. My connection and dedication to Francis Howell School District runs deep. So tonight I come to speak to you as a parent and a taxpayer to express my disagreement with the proposed change in resolution policy being discussed here. Whether I voted for you or not, your job on this board is to ensure the decisions are made within your scope of influence to support the students of our district. That means all students. The governing question you should ask as a decision maker is this: does this help or harm? As we look at this policy, it doesn't pass the test. This helps no one, but it certainly harms a number of children. Maslow's hierarchy of needs has made clear that children cannot learn in atmospheres where they are made to feel unsafe, and this action would lessen feelings of safety for 29% of our district's children. How do we sustain a district where only 71% of our students have optimal circumstances to thrive? How do we maintain the excellence rating we've attained when our board has taken intentional steps to decimate programs and policies that help all students thrive? When our ratings drop, how far would our property values drop as well? I've read the resolution. I would ask each of you which parts you consider so egregious that we need this policy change. Is it the part where we stand firmly against individual and systemic racism, or the part where we say that we're going to openly discuss and challenge racism? I've also read some of the rationale that some have posted online, and I think the most insulting part is that you expect us not to see this for the systemic discrimination that it is. Many of us recognize it because we've engaged in these important discussions and understand that this will take us backwards, not forward. Finally, I'm here as the founder and director of the Missouri Equity Education Partnership. Our membership, which probably half of this room would consider themselves members, our membership is dedicated to ensuring equitable access to quality education for every student in Missouri. That means for my beautiful children and for yours. We are opposed to this rule change and will continue to work for a board that works in the interest of all children, not just select ones.
Up next is John Hybretter. Moving on. Next up, we have Sean Fowler.
Hello, Board and Cabinet. My name is Sean Fowler. I'm a resident of the district who attended Fairmont Elementary, Hollenbeck back when it was a junior high, and graduated from Francis Howell North High School, where I've worked for over the last 20 years. I'm also the proud parent of 2 students in this district. I love public education, this community, and this district in particular. I'm here tonight to express concerns, though, about the proposed policy to sunset all board resolutions prior to the current board. This policy is not a conservative policy. This is not the behavior of conservatives. This is a disingenuous and undemocratic move. I respect your right and privilege as current board members to go back and readdress prior board policies and resolutions in light of the beliefs of the current board. However, to create a standing order to wipe away all resolutions that came before your tenure without any discussion of the merits and demerits of each resolution is a radical wiping away of the past. This is an abuse of power. Please make no mistake, I'm not here to engage in ad hominem attacks on your collective character or intent. I don't believe this is who you are or who you aspire to be. This is definitely not who we are as a community. Rather, I'm asking you to think about the larger implications of this decision. What if this decision sets a precedent? In the future, each new board comes in and cancels the work of the previous boards. This action will undercut the trust in our schools and school boards and lead to greater polarization in our community. It will make our school boards elections more polarized. As a student teacher of American history, I'm a firm believer in the motto of e pluribus unum, out of many, one. Our differences can strengthen us if and when we come together to work towards shared goals. Please reconsider this policy to wipe out the history of resolutions made by all boards that have preceded you. Putting past resolutions in the memory hole is not how a constitutional republic functions. Thank you so much for your time and commitment to our community.
Next up, we have Ashley Rose. Ashley Rose. Next up, we have Kelton or Manisha Young. Next up, we have Christy Dorman.
Sorry, you guys let me know when I should start, or?
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. I am seeking a modification to the VS ProCare website for the summer camp registration. Registration for next summer will most likely create a high demand. We have experienced several challenges with the current registration process for other district consolidated sites. Registration online access should be available for all consolidated VS sites. This will improve the online registration process and access for families and streamline the process. It'll reduce phone calls and email volume across the district. Our son has attended 5 VS sites over the years for various district programs. The lag time for a return call or a response has sometimes been weeks and sometimes never at all over the summer. Our son was informed during my phone calls of at least 3 times there was availability in the Warren and Central location sites. However, after speaking with 3 different individuals, he still never secured an online spot through the registration process with the VS program. This delay and the lag time creates an undue delay for registration. The Warren and Central VS location sites, even in early May, were sending emails saying they were still accepting registration. I was informed when the availability was there that I could not register online, that the online process was preventing us due to a primary site and a dual enrollment form. So that lag time created additional delay. If we want to have children in these programs, which is very beneficial, we have used these programs since he's been enrolled. We just think the online process can be improved. The Parkway School District, if you check out their website, you can go online and select the Parkway District locations, which site you'd like to go to for the summer, and you can submit your registration online. That way there's a timestamp, a date of submission, and then the confirmation, if there is a wait list, is notified through email. I think that when children need these services and family need these services, we can do better. It's a simple process to update the ProCare system. All the district VS sites are on the ProCare system. We also all have access, but they just don't let you access every district consolidated site. So when VS is full at one site, they block you from registering on another site. And so this is an easy fix. It probably can be done in less than half a day, I would assume. Someone just needs to add that option to give us access. That way, next summer, we don't experience these challenges. I've spent numerous hours over the summer trying to get assistance, trying to get a response, and just the constant delay in the registration process has been very frustrating. Now we're at the point where we only need 2 weeks.
Thank you. Your
Thank
time
you.
is up.
Up next, we have Reverend Booker Rice.
Mr. President and members of the board, my name is Pastor B.T. Rice. I pastor the New Horizon Christian Church, and I have 2 grandchildren that attend Francis Howell School District. Just a few days ago, we celebrated this nation. We celebrated the 4th of July, our independence. And in that, we recognized that all of us have a right of liberty, justice for all. In that celebration, we recognize the fact that all of us are created under and in the image of God. Those of us that are those friends of faith, we understand that our nation is based on principles that don't change. Policy changes, but principle doesn't change. One of those principles is that all of us should have equality. All of us have a right to be able to be heard, to be expressed. When it comes to our young people, we must make sure that all of our young people in Francis Howell School District, regardless of their color of skin, regardless of their nationality, but we must make sure that all of them are treated equally and respectfully. What I have found out, and many of us have learned, that that's not happening in some of our schools. Sometimes our kids have been called names, our young people have been addressed in wrong ways, and some of us have gone to the administration all to no avail. I plead to you to revisit your decision to let this sunset. There are some things that can't sunset, some things that cannot be ignored. This is a thing that I think that we need to stand up to. This is something that I think that's going to be helpful and hurtful if you carry out this vote to rescind or let this particular item sunset. We believe that it's important to all of us, and all of us, everyone here, we're all a part of the family, that we're trying to do better for our young people and our children. I plead to you to please revisit your decision to allow this to sunset, and there's those posters that's in the school district.
Thank
That
you.
they be
Your time
recognized
is up.
and respected as well. Thank you.
Next up is Kimberly Thompson.
Good evening. My name is Kimberly Thompson, and a friend recently sent me a little passage that is apropos to what is going on this evening, and I'd like to read that passage to you. If you find yourself on a committee discussing the needs of a particular group of people, but you look around and you don't see anyone from that group, you should highly be skeptical of any conclusions that are reached. But I'd like to say, you have guidance from people who can speak realistically to our issues. But first, you must see us, hear us, acknowledge us as a viable part of this community. Now, I'm a longtime resident of St. Peter's, and I am also a product of the Francis Howell School District. And my two babies as well, they're Francis Howell Central graduates. Clearly, I survived my time in my education at Francis Howell School District. I survived, but you guys, there were times that I know that I did not thrive. I was not what I could have been. I experienced so many needless and senseless wounds, sometimes on a daily basis, simply because of the color of my skin. Precious little 4th grade Kimberly at Fairmount Elementary School back in 1979, her mama was at that school probably weekly, demanding, protecting, basic and respect, requesting basic respect for her daughter. 1986 Kimberly at Francis Howell High School. I was a junior then. I can remember this day like it was yesterday because it stuck with me. I had to call my mother. It was October. I had to call my mother because students were in KKK uniforms for Halloween. It took until 4th hour until those students were removed. And it wasn't until threats of media that it happened. When I think back, I don't think any of the horrible things that happened to me as a Brown student were handled properly. I was not treated with dignity nor respect. Most of these instances were just dismissed and blown off and treated very casually, thus not inciting any hope of change because they were not addressed or dealt with properly. This resolution means hope to me. Hope of a better Francis Howell School District. It means setting expectations for behavior for students and staff regardless of their personal opinions. This resolution is common sense, it is kind.
Thank you. Your time is up.
Next up, we have Harry Harris.
You're racist and disgusting. That child there was being horrible. And she keeps staring. Oh my goodness. Let him speak.
All right. Obviously, y'all know why I'm here tonight. I've already emailed you. Janet, thank you for your response. This is obviously very difficult, and we've had a lot of discussions about this. And I will say to my core today, I can't understand why we're having this conversation.
Yep.
I've talked with some of you. I've told you about some of the experiences that people have had in this district. Yet we still somehow have this belief that it's isolated incidents or it doesn't really matter. I mean, today, as some of these people have spoken their truth, as they've talked about incidents that are happening to them or have happened to them or their families, I've seen people shaking their heads. I've seen people saying, no, it doesn't really happen. It does. This is our truth. This is what we're coming to speak. It was when this resolution was coming out that I was questioning the board. I wanted to see strong statements come out against racism. I am a member of this community. People that look like me are a member of this community. There really isn't anything in there that is horrible or should be taken down. And that we're having a discussion about sunsetting it If you don't want it, step up and say you don't want it. But you should want it. You should want what's best for this community. You should want to create a school district that is going to be able to hire more than less than 30 black teachers. We know these statistics. I would like my son to have more people that look like him. Adam, you and I had this conversation. I want people that look like my son. Not because I want them treated special, not because I want him treated special, but because I want him to see that there are other people and role models that he can look up to in his classroom. And if we've got 1,250 something teachers and less than 30 of them are black, that is a difficult thing to make. We have some schools that don't have any black employees. How is that? So I really think we need to take a step back tonight. You guys and ladies, you don't have to do this. You can step away from this. You don't feel indebted to anybody or any other ideology, but I'm telling you, this is a moment, as you can see, that many people are going to watch. How do we want to come out looking? We want to attract the best and brightest to our district. Make this go away. Keep that resolution. Thank you.
Up next, we have Emily Winham. Emily Winham.
I actually don't have a speech prepared. I'm just saying, how hard is it to say, I will not be a racist and I will not discriminate against people?
FHEA.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Raquel Babb, the first Vice President of the Francis Howell Education Association. First of all, we'd like to congratulate Olivia Howard for being named Regional Teacher of the Year. We are honored that she calls FHSD home and that her students are definitely winning under her expert skills as an educator and her huge heart for this work. Secondly, we'd like to thank the teachers and administrators who've worked to write elementary computer science courses and revise the middle school facts, both up for first read tonight, and for all of those who've been working this summer to revise other curriculum or vet resources as well. We know that you have the best interests of your students at heart and are making recommendations based on need. We know that the excellent academic record of Francis Howell is due in part to learning opportunities designed by our educators, using resources that they work hard to find to help students at all levels succeed. We continue to urge this board to trust the work of the highly trained experts in this district. Next, we'd like to address the budget. We know that more than 127 educators have resigned or retired, not counting the 14 expired one-year contracts listed in tonight's personnel report. In fact, in the past 2 years, almost 25% of our certified staff have left FHSD. 25%. Right now, we have 11 unfilled positions, some that have been posted for weeks. Clearly, we need you to work hard to keep our amazing educators here. Teachers who've been here more than 5 years have 2 salary freezes still impacting their salaries. Earlier this year in negotiations, we believed that the district was going to end up with a 19% unrestricted fund balance at the end, and we looked at the data. We accepted one step and $300 on the base, and now that balance is 27%. 27%. Restoring just one of those years would only cost $2.6 million and go a long way toward helping the loyal educators in Francis Howell feel valued. Finally, we'd like to urge this board to consider the impact of your words and actions. You have devalued educators and administrators who have brought well-researched recommendations to you. You have made the public believe we don't have flags in our classrooms and we don't say the pledge daily, which we do. You are set to scrub our buildings of a resolution that made our black and brown families feel seen and heard. Your words in the public eye reflect on this district. The election is over. You no longer have opponents. You have constituents, and you represent all of us.
FISPA.
Good evening, Board, Superintendent Rumpus, Administration, and all patrons. We're almost through summer, and the custodial and maintenance departments are hard at work finishing the school so they are ready to roll this August. A lot of our departments are running with several vacancies and strict timelines. Their work is integral in providing the children of the district with safe and beautiful buildings to learn in. We're hopeful that vacant positions will be filled and grateful for the help we've received. We're excited to work with our new facility director and would like to welcome Salim Strutzer to Francis Howell. July 1st, support staff received all that we negotiated for earlier in spring. We believe our teams did a great job working together at that time. We're very grateful for what we received. But other districts are always competing for experienced staff. Our hope is that we continue to be competitive and make sure we're supporting all of the employees of the district. Investing in your employees and providing ample raises is key to keeping your people. If they succeed, you succeed. We do a service for this community for the sake of every single child, no matter what their background is or where they live. They are all children of Francis Howell and all deserve the best of the best. Thank you and have a great night.
Up next, we'll have Salim Stutzer, our new Facilities and Operations Director, who will be presenting on the Prop S update.
Good evening, Board. Well, it's been 2 weeks for me. I'm excited to be here. Been spending a lot of time listening, visiting with our staff and various other building administrators. This is a wonderful district, a lot of opportunity ahead for our staff and our team, and I'm excited to work alongside all of our team. Before I jump into my presentation, I just kind of want to piggyback off of the comment that was just shared with one of our lead custodians. I've had an opportunity to meet all of our staff in various settings over the last couple of weeks. And I just want to acknowledge a lot of the work that they're doing. I don't think many people realize that we basically have a 70-day window between the end of school and the beginning of school to restore 3 million square feet of space. That's cleaning, that's going back and doing a lot of preventative maintenance. We've got a lot of projects that are taking place throughout the district. In your board packet this evening, you've got a couple of recommendations for the transition to 4545 for the transportation department. But much of that work is being done by our staff. And they really deserve a round of applause for all the work that they're undertaking. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into my presentation here. Just today, our ROAC meetings, owner architect construction meetings for Francis Howell North, moved those to Thursdays. So I had an opportunity today to have another progress meeting. Really excited about a lot of the work that's taking place there. I'll go through some of the highlights here. This is, kind of highlights now, as well as kind of looking into August as we transition over here the next couple of months. New front entry, I know it says will be completed. It's actually really complete. We paved this week despite the weather that we had. We were able to lay the remaining asphalt on that main boulevard coming in. And in the coming weeks, we're going to work with a wide array of groups. Obviously, construction will still be taking place over the next few months. So we're going to have some key folks around the table. That way we can start strategically lining out that and making sure that bus traffic, car rider traffic is conducive and safe for all of those folks that are working on that campus. The exterior of the building, all the brick veneer on the main building is scheduled to be complete this month. Masons have actually started pulling some of their equipment off. Obviously, they've got a big footprint between all of their materials, their hydro lifts, so those are starting to move, being removed from the site. Anticipate here probably second, third week of August. more like the second week of August, they'll be completely done with their scope of work. Third bullet point here, fixed window installation continues to progress on all levels of the building. We've got large storefront and curtain wall frames and glazing going in. Most of those openings have been measured. We've got some being installed. Curbs and sidewalk installation continues around the east side of the building as they work around to the north. Framing installation continues in the administrative areas as well as counseling and nursing. Painting in the main gym and upper level areas continues. Between the lower and level floor, we've got various flooring going in. We've got VCT on the lower level. Up in the science and chemistry rooms, we've got polished concrete work that's taken place. And in the restrooms and a few other wet areas, we've got resinous flooring going in. MEP, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, fire protection continues to make great progress in the upper levels, in the gyms and kitchen and common areas as well. So really pleased with a lot of the progress that's taken place there. This is the current site overview. Probably not much has changed from the last time you guys saw this. What I'll highlight on the southwest part of the site here, as you can see, the tennis courts, they're complete. Surfacing was completed on those about 3 weeks ago, so that surfacing is just in the process of curing. This is the front entry looking towards Henderson. As I said, this is about a week old. It's all paved, and in the coming weeks we'll stripe. This is another vantage point shooting out towards Hackman Road. So the other thing that's currently happening is we've got a lot of connecting arteries from Hackman that, for pedestrian traffic, so we've got sidewalks. So the crews are going to focus on those here over the next few weeks, and we anticipate having most of those arteries coming in from a sidewalk standpoint complete by the time school starts. This is the east elevation of the auxiliary and main gym. There were some hydrolifts for the masons. Those have left the site, and so what's happening right now is they're starting to move dirt in this driveway, in this drive that you see here between the parking lot and the east elevation of the building. We're starting to prep for some additional concrete that's going to get poured here in the coming weeks. This is the obviously the football stadium. What I want to highlight here is the outbuildings. We've got restrooms to the left of the screen, ticket booth, and then to the right we've got concessions. So obviously all the CMU, as you see, is mostly up. They'll start detailing the bar joists for the roof and start framing some of those openings and continue working on the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing systems for those outbuildings. I've already noted this. This is just a close-up of the tennis courts. They look great. So again, the surfacing is just curing there, and we'll sit until it's ready for use. This is the inside of the auditorium. The concrete is complete, ready for seating. Obviously, that'll be one of the last scopes of work we do as we kind of work our way out of this area. As you see, we still got quite a bit of detail. We got acoustics we have to address, lighting, and a few other scopes of work prior to installing those seats. Just another vantage point of the auditorium, standing at the back looking at the front of it. Down in the industrial arts area, we've got a lot of final finishes going in. Casework is getting installed. As you see, we've got tops, plumbing and fixtures are set. Most of the overhead mechanical, electrical, and plumbing is complete. We're going through inspections here. We should wrap those up next week. Once the polished concrete subcontractor is done in the science wing upstairs, they'll move down and they'll start polished concrete in these industrial areas down on a lower level. Journalism department, again, casework is installed, glazing is installed, it's sitting there ready for tops, and again, we've got the above ceiling still open. That way we can complete inspections, and then we'll do the polished concrete in here as well. Culinary food labs, same thing, except we're not as far advanced on we still got quite a bit of MEP work to do. That's why you see the ceiling exposed. Hopefully here in the next couple of weeks we'll make quick work of that and start dropping the grid ceiling in. These are collaboration areas. We have them throughout the building, just additional educational space where you can work in small groups. So as you see, all the window frames are set. CMU work is complete. We're preparing for interior framing there. These are two students. I actually met them today. They attended our OAC meeting. So that's Mary. She's class of 2024 at Francis Howell North, and then Nolan Johnson there. He's class of 2023. And so they got a chance to work with the big group. So at our OAC meeting today, obviously we had, the owner, district, construction manager, architects, and various other partners in the room. So they got to see the backside of how delivering a construction project, what that looks like, RFIs, ASIs. They were getting terminology that they probably weren't used to, and so we had the opportunity to explain what all that means, and that they're having the time of their life. So they enjoyed it. And then we have a July drone flight here. Simpler if you could play that. So again here, as the drone's flying, you can see the tennis courts are done. We've got quite a bit of the curbing in the various parking areas complete. So here we're shooting towards the, what would be the south side here of the stadium complex. As you see the stadium, we've got all the curbs in the coming weeks. We'll asphalt the track surface. The goal is to try to have that surface in before the fall, because it needs a cure time and optimum weather from a temperature standpoint for that process to take place.
Faster,
Thank you, Ms. Heffler. So here's where we sit financially. All the allowances, the escalation allowances, those really remain unchanged. Obviously, that money's sitting there in case we had, a little bit of influx from, bid day numbers. And the GMP value billed to date, that's directly from our most recent certified pay application. So billed to date, we're at $119,437,752. And we're about 72% billed, and we've got another about 27% still to go. So before I open it up for questions here, I know there's a couple of things that I've been obviously tasked with from Dr. Rumpus. As here in the coming weeks, one of the priority projects is really kind of finishing up the secure entries. So my goal is to work with all of our various operations team, as well as some of our other partners, start that work in hopes of bringing that to the board for a recommendation here in the near future in terms of next steps for that. And in your board packet, as already noted, there's some miscellaneous stuff, proposals I should say, that are part of transportation kind of relocating to 45. Some of that work pending your approval tonight will take place. That's necessary in order for them to be able to be accommodated over there. But in the coming months, there may be some miscellaneous things as they start kind of getting settled that we may need to bring back to you for consideration. So, outside of that, I'd be happy to take any questions that you may have.
First off, I just want to say welcome. Haven't had the chance to meet you yet, but pretty excited to get the facility meetings going back, started hopefully soon. And about the district, any idea about the turf, when it's going down?
So the goal here, I just approved the submittal here last week. And so that's going to go back to Byrne & Jones, and they'll start getting all of their shop drawings and everything done. The goal is to start installing that and really be done by mid to late fall.
And based on the progress and the budget amount, it looks like we're going to come in under budget on this.
Yeah, we're getting closer, but there's always some unforeseen things that may pop up here and there, knock on wood. So the goal is always to try to deliver projects on time and under budget, and so that's always the goal, but I can't speak to that right now.
Well, welcome to the district.
Thank you, Director Lang. Thank you, Board.
Thank you. Great to have you. Board, I'd like a motion to approve the consent agenda for July 20th, 2023 as presented. Second. Pushkar, Ponder. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. Ayes have it. Board, I'd like a motion to declare that these items to be surplus property and direct the disposal of the same in accordance with Board Policy 3390.
So moved.
Second. Director Stiglitz, Ponder. Probably the only one of discussion. I want to thank the administration for their detailed account of the process around our disposal of textbooks, surplus textbooks. I did a few questions on kind of more detail on some of the process. One of like how much surplus textbooks does this kind of account for? And then kind of what is we talked a lot about like, kind of like the I guess the backroom operations, but one of the things I didn't see on there was, do we do anything about surplus property? I saw a lot of textbooks are one thing, but I also saw a lot of just like kind of like reading books. Do we offer those out to like the teachers for like their classroom libraries or to the public or anything like that? Or how does it end up being disposed of?
It does depend on the specific surplus that we're talking about. So this list this week is specific resources that were used instructionally. So if they're on this list, it's either items that are no longer usable because they've reached a point that they can't be repaired, or they're instructional materials that are no longer part of the board-approved and district-utilized curriculum resources. Because these resources are purchased with taxpayer funds, by statute, we can't just sell them ourselves or give them away to others. We have to go through an auction process, and so the easiest way for us to do that is through GovDeals. So they're really put together as a lot, and a photo is taken of them. They're posted on the website. The highest bidder can then purchase them. If they aren't sold, we do, by statute, you have the ability to donate them, but they have to be donated to another taxing jurisdiction serving the same population. So they can't just be given out to anyone. And so in some cases, they may ultimately just be disposed of or recycled. You mentioned the overall amount. I don't have the specific amount that we got last year that we would get from this. That's something that we can work with finance to get and provide to you.
Really appreciate it. Any other questions? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. Ayes have it. Board, I'd like a motion to approve the travel request for the National Association of Gifted Children as requested. Pushkar, Ponder. Discussion, Board?
Appreciate you pulling this one from consent. I always take a close look at travel and the organizations we're being asked to provide taxpayer funding to. In this case, I won't be able to support sending more taxpayer money to the National Association for Gifted Children. In this particular conference, this organization has, and I'm quoting now, has partnered with Social Offset to offer meeting attendees the opportunity to contribute to local organizations in Florida that make a difference in people's lives. Making a donation this way is a way to channel discomfort or internal conflict felt by some attendees about the location into meaningful action. So effectively, this conference has partnered with an organization that will funnel money to various different activism groups, one of which is Planned Parenthood of whatnot. So I'm not interested in sending taxpayer dollars to an organization that's so openly doing advocacy work that I don't think our constituents would overwhelmingly support. So I'm going to be voting against this one.
Keep going, digging, keep digging.
Other discussion, questions, Board?
What other options are there besides, and what other options would there be besides this? mean, why this conference?
I haven't looked into other options. What I can tell you is that this is the National Association of Gifted Children. It's the nation's leading organization focused on the needs of gifted and talented children. It provides our teachers opportunities to hear from national speakers, attend sessions focused on improving practice within the program and then within their classroom. The teachers who attend have opportunities to bring learning back and then share that with their colleagues throughout the school year. Our gifted teachers do have limited opportunities. There aren't a lot of options out there for gifted teachers to attend. They're usually a little further away. They're usually fairly pricey. I don't oversee that program, and unfortunately the person that does oversee that has been out of town, so we haven't been able to consult him for some of the questions that have come up. We did send a few teachers last year to the conference. They had positive experiences. They were all at the elementary level, so this year we were asking to send 2 secondary teachers to the conference.
Is this part of a CEU requirement, or is for the
No,
teachers?
it's just, we like to offer opportunities for our teachers to continue their learning, to bring that back. There are limited opportunities for gifted teachers, and so outside of national conferences, they're fairly limited beyond what we're going to provide them internally, and so sending some of our teachers to learn at the conference gives them an opportunity to bring the knowledge back, so that when we provide internal PD opportunities, we're building that capacity within our internal staff so that they're able to provide some learning to those internally.
Dr. Buckman, you'd mentioned that last year we sent some elementary teachers to this conference, and I know at that time there was also some concern about sending these teachers to this kind of a conference. Did we have any kind of a feedback, any kind of pushback from any of our teachers when they came back? Were they able to disseminate the information with the other teachers that we had asked them to do?
They were.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion, board? I know I, for one, had a couple of questions for it. I know we had a number of other ones. I don't know if the board would be open to it, but I think probably hearing from Dr. Vanderpool may be a good thing in this case. And I would like to make the motion that we table this until Dr. Vanderpool gets back and is able to answer some of the questions we may have. So I will make that motion and see if anybody seconds it.
Second.
Hartman.
Is there a timeline that if because I remember last year we had to wait for something and then we ended up having to spend more money because our teachers couldn't get into the right hotel or whatever. Is there a timeline on this if we don't approve it tonight that we're going to end up spending more money?
I know that the conference is in November, so I feel fairly confident that we should still be able to register. What I don't know tonight is if there's an early bird registration, if there's costs that will increase between now and next month. I don't have that in front of me. Could the conference fill up? I guess there's a chance that it could fill up. It's still fairly early. I would think that we could still get a registration.
I can answer that for you, Jan. They have the conference website here. Early bird ended June 30th.
Any additional questions? All right, so we have a motion to table this until Dr. Vanderpool can return and answer the board's questions. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no.
No.
The ayes have it. Board would like a motion to approve the travel request for Learning Forward Annual Conference as requested. Second. Pushkar, Director Ling. Discussion board. Seeing no discussion, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. No. Ayes have it. Board, I'd like a motion to approve the policy P2180, Board Director Policy Change, as presented. So moved. Cook? Second. Pushkar? Discussion board?
Yeah, I do. So I expressed an interest in amending this policy as proposed during our last board meeting. I then followed up by email to Director Cook
think it's the next
The next one, okay. Sorry. I'm jumping the gun.
We appreciate it.
Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no.
No.
Ayes have it. Board like a motion to approve policy P0299, board director policy change as presented. Director Pushkar. Second. Cook. Discussion?
All right, now it's my turn. I expressed an interest in amending this policy as proposed during our last board meeting. I then followed up via email to Director Cook, who created and is proposing this policy, and President Bertrand, since you weren't present at the last meeting. I received no responses or acknowledgement to my email. I take that as not having any interest in working together on this policy. I then received an email last evening from President Bertrand reminding the board of our code of ethics. I just want to say publicly that the code of ethics goes both ways. I would appreciate to be acknowledged. As stated before, I do not support this policy as written for the many reasons that I've publicly made known. And judging by the amount of emails we received against this policy and the amount of social media conversations, media coverage, there are things in this community that disagree with this policy, and for those reasons, I obviously be voting no.
Other discussion?
Yes, I would like to say this district has been around for over 100 years, resolutions written and passed as we've gone. I guess I don't understand why all of a sudden we need to have a policy to sunset resolutions. I have understood. I want to thank Director Ponder for taking some time after one of our last board meetings and trying to explain to me what some of the concerns were. And one of the things that was mentioned where they weren't his words, they're my words. I signed it then, and I would sign it again today the same way. While I do understand they're not your words, they're also the words of Mr. Lang and 5 other elected officials at that time. So why are those words not important anymore? And it's not just the resolution, but it's the other resolutions that we have. If your concern is the wording of the resolution, then let's need what we were elected to do. Let's do it. Let's get together and come up with a solution that we can all agree with. That's what elected people do. We expect our students to problem solve. Why can't we as a board do the same thing? I don't understand. No one. And to Mr. Lang's point about code of ethics, no one has ever reached out to me and explained to me why this was so important, other than Director Ponder when I specifically asked him. President Bertrand, you never contacted me. Mr. Cook never contacted me. I got an email yesterday saying he was making a change. I asked him why I wasn't even consulted. As far as I knew, I was still on the Board of Education, and I really don't understand why we cannot, as 7 people with individuals, work together to do the right thing for everybody. I will be voting no.
President Bertrand has, as it states here in Director Cook's words, the board may choose to readopt the applicable resolutions during the 75 calendar days prior to the resolution being automatically rescinded pursuant to this policy. Has anybody reached out to you that actually requested a review of this or a readoption of this once this sunsets, or prior to the sunset?
No, I haven't had any requests to do it.
Why would we?
Any board member? Has anybody board member done that? No. I would like to request that if we could actually, prior to the 75 calendar day expiration, come back, look at this, review it, make sure that it is actually, Janet mentioned, the wording of it and some of the things inside of it, and I think we can actually sit down and as Janet said, get together and really think about what we're doing and make it our own if that's what we choose to do. I think that's the best way forward, and if that's something that we can probably do, I would like to adopt that.
Definitely something we can look at.
I'd like to discuss with my fellow board members if they can provide me with any detail or proof that this resolution has done anything. In all of the communications and emails that I got, not one of them said that this resolution prevented their child from harm. Not one. I do know of a case. Excuse me. You're out of order.
So are you.
I do know of a case that a child was discriminated against for religious discrimination. And the problem is that the parents brought this to the board at that time, which we were not on. That board did nothing about the complaint of the parent. It was only when the parent revisited the complaint with the board and quoted policy, which we have a policy against racism and discrimination. It was only then that there was any action taken. My thought on the policy is, what has it really done? How effective has it really been? Show me proof. I've not gotten any. All I've gotten is a lot of hateful email, vitriol. I mean, we all have. It's.
You said policy. Jane, you said policy. I think you mean resolution, right?
Ouch. Ouch.
Words matter. They do. Words have definition.
The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. We've had this resolution on the books for over 3 years, but yet there has not been one case that has been brought forward to the board for resolution. However, it's still there, and it's actually done nothing.
And it gives us hope.
Treasurer Pushkar, again, I think what you're looking for is specific examples. I don't know that anyone on this Board of Education, when you said asking your fellow board members for actual proof, I don't know that I could actually say that it's given anybody, it's done anything, but I can tell you it has given, just by what you've seen tonight, it has given our black, our brown, all of our students, our teachers, something. It's given them hope. And it's given them the fact, I was part of that. And when we talk about, when we wrote that resolution, that was not a resolution that 7 people came together and wrote in 10 minutes. That was a resolution that took weeks for all of us to agree on, and words were taken out and words were added to that so that we could give our students and our community hope that we do recognize we have issues and that we are doing our best to right them.
And that's wonderful, Janet. And I would like to rather offer everyone in this district justice instead of hope.
But justice, isn't justice and hope the same?
No, Janet, it's not. Look it up.
Okay, I will. Thank you.
I just want to say too, you're looking for specifics, and there's really no specifics to say this has harmed anybody. This has harmed nobody. So, looking for specifics.
This is a business meeting. Please refrain from making commentary as we debate our thoughts here.
I also want to say that tonight and all week long, there's been a lot of focus on the specific resolution, understandably. But let's not forget that this policy will sunset all resolutions ever passed in the school district. And I know of 2 other ones. This is just one, was an example. 2 other ones that I'm a part of that I think is very important, not only for Francis Howell, but for public education in general. But, they're also going to vanish, so they won't be here.
But it's only going to be sunsetted if nobody brings it up for a review in 75 days.
My proposal at the last meeting was, let's review them all every single year, automatically. We can have the discussion. It may be a tough discussion, but we can have it. Instead of creating a whole new document.
And I think that's what we need to do. I think that there is a process to which we can all sit down and look at these resolutions and put our own words or edits or whatever we need to do on these and make it make it our own. I think that's what I proposed.
That's what I proposed.
I think that we've got 75 days from now to either readopt edit, whatever, any of these resolutions that might go away. We don't know what the board in 1924 put on as a resolution. We have no idea. There's no way to know that, is there?
We didn't exist then.
Is there any way to know what we're doing?
Actually, we did.
We did.
We did.
We did.
We did.
So every year you guys are gonna have a discussion about
Excuse me,
whether
this is
or
a
not
business
my
meeting.
child is worth being in this district and respected by the people in this district. That's
Is it order?
Public comments over. No, don't tell me what to do with it.
Board additional discussion? All right. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no.
No.
Yes, roll call.
Director Harmon.
Yes.
Director Lang.
Heck no.
Director Pushkar.
Yes.
President Bertrand.
Aye.
Vice President Cook.
Aye.
Director Ponder.
Aye.
Director Stiglich.
Heck no.
Shame on you.
shame. Shame on all of you.
Vote him out.
Or like a motion to approve the June monthly financial report as presented.
So embarrassing.
Director Cook, Director Ponder. All those approved say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. Ayes have it. Or like a motion to approve the purchases over 7,500 as presented. Director Pushkar, Director Ponder. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. Ayes have it. Or like a motion to reapprove the return to school plan as presented. So moved. Cook. Second. Director Ponder.
Board, as a reminder, any district that received ARP ESSER funds throughout COVID was required to reapprove the safe return to in-person instruction and continuity of services plan every 6 months at a minimum. Our understanding is that this is the last time we will have to bring the report back to the Board of Education for approval. There are no substantive changes to what plan was in place last year. We plan to open school completely as normal. If there happened to be any outbreak of COVID, we would treat that as we would any other outbreak of any other communicable disease at this time.
Thank you, Dr. Rumpus. Board, any questions? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. Ayes have it. Next, we have information on curriculum. Buckman.
These are both a second read. We brought them last month. I believe we answered we did not answer a few questions with these, sorry. I'm happy to answer any questions if you have them. Otherwise, we appreciate your approval.
These are first read, I think, right?
It's just a first read.
Yeah.
Oh,
Just
I
as information.
apologize. I thought
We did another one last month, yeah.
You're right. I apologize. They are first read, yep. Informationally, we're happy to answer questions over the course of the next month if you have any.
Thank you, Dr. Buckman. Next up is superintendent comments.
Walk this way.
Thank you.
Thank you, President Bertrand. First, I would like to welcome our new district leadership team members who began on July 1st. To my right is Dr. Amy Salvo, our new deputy superintendent. You heard earlier this evening from Mr. Saloom Stutzer, our director of facilities and operations, and Dr. Holly Broadway Yates, who's not here with us this evening, but you'll get to meet her next month as our new director of student services. We are thrilled to have them join the team, and they've all jumped right in and had a busy couple of weeks. I also want to take a moment and wish a happy birthday to our Chief Human Resources Officer, Lisa Simpkins. We don't always...
How old?
We don't celebrate everyone's special days publicly. But when either you or one of our team are here on a board meeting night, we do want to do that. Our team wants to celebrate Mrs. Olivia Howard, the choral director at Francis Howell Middle School, who has been recognized as one of the 10 Regional Missouri Teachers of the Year. Ms. Howard is now going through the process of applying and interviewing to be the State Missouri Teacher of the Year, and we think she is a great candidate. And Francis Howell has a strong tradition of regional finalists and a State Teacher of the Year in the district. Emily Ferris and Melina Caravusanos Both 2022 graduates of Francis Howell High School have recently earned the Girl Scout Gold Award. We were made aware of this, and these young changemakers demonstrated extraordinary leadership through measurable and sustainable community service projects. Emily partnered with the Awaken process, raising awareness on drug prevention, and Melina assisted the Boys and Girls Club of O'Fallon in installing new play structures. I wanted to congratulate both of them. Earlier this week, the St. Charles County SWAT team challenged the Francis Howell High School football team to a friendly competition. As part of a training exercise, our team brought their A game, and it was a great fitness challenge that consisted of 5 different events, and you can see video of that on the district's Facebook page. I really want to thank the St. Charles County SWAT members. We have a great relationship with that department and appreciate them coming and spending time with some of our hardworking student and athletes. Great way for them to connect with the community and with the district. We are very excited to begin now the selection process of class participants for the district's new program called Citizens in Our Schools that I shared with you at last month's board meeting. The programs will provide an immersive opportunity for community members, business leaders, parents, and others to really learn about the district's operations. We believe this is a first of its kind program to be done in a school district and see it as an opportunity to continue building trust and transparency with the community through a group of well-informed citizens. We're piloting with this inaugural class, and we're accepting applications through tomorrow. I'm happy to share with you that we have just over 40 applicants, so we will have a great first group doing this, and if people are still interested, there is information available on our website, and they can apply through tomorrow. It is still summer, but school supply lists are out, and the online registration process is in full swing. We're excited to welcome our students back on Monday, August 21st. We're very excited that our new educators will be here beginning on August 7th for a week of learning about Francis Howell and professional development, and our returning teachers will come back to the district on August 14th. So board, I just want to say, as we concluded last school year, we celebrated a lot of the positive steps that I believe we took last year in moving forward and rebuilding trust and transparency with the community. I was and continue to be proud of a lot of the initiatives that we put in place with a goal of better engaging our community in problem solving. Next month, we plan to share feedback from the community survey that we did at the end of the school year and talk about some of those next steps. It is clear, based on some of the patron comments tonight and things over the last couple of months that we've heard, that we continue to have a lot of work together to do as a community. In my introductory video last year, I shared that I'm committed to leaning into those topics and working with you and our community as we face some topics that may be challenging to discuss, but that's not a reason for us to address them. So as we begin this new school year, I look forward to working with the 7 of you, with our leadership team, our staff, our students, and our entire community to continue to improve the Francis Howell School District and to continue to keep this as one of the most desirable districts in the state of Missouri. I'm honored to have this opportunity and to serve and be a part of this team, and now to also be a resident of the district and have my own children who will be students here this fall, and I'm committed to doing everything we can to make this district be successful. So thank you.
Any board comments?
I just want to know between the SWAT team and the athletes, which one won?
I think it was a tie.
Oh, was it a tie? Yeah.
There's no winners.
That's true. That's true. That's quite a showing for our student athletes. And thank you for all your hard work, and thank you for coming back from your Disney cruise. I know it was difficult, but thanks for coming back.
Any other comments, board? I'd just like to take a quick moment to again welcome Dr. Amy Salvo and Mr. Stutzer back there. We really appreciate you guys joining the team and look forward to working with you. Board, with nothing else, I would like to have a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no.